How is everyone this evening? Okay. Want to welcome you to our second in a series of candidate forums sponsored by the Arlington NAACP in partnership with the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I'm Damon Gardner. I'm the chair of the Arlington NAACP candidate forum. My co-chairs here in the front, Ms. Deborah Spell. Raise your hand, Deborah, so I can see you. Okay, to get us started off, I'm going to introduce you to our moderator for this evening. It will be Dr. Jason Shelton from UTA and of the Unity Council. Dr. Shelton, if you come on up and get us started.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How y'all doing this evening? All right, thank you all for being here. Y'all know how important it is that we live in a democratic society and we have a say over our leaders. And so it is always an honor and a privilege to moderate these discussions. I've done it for a number of years now. I didn't think they was gonna keep picking me, but hey, I'll take it as long as they welcome me to the room. All right, with that, before I welcome our candidates to the stage, what we're going to do is change the format up just slightly. You see we've got two tables here. We're going to call up both the candidates for Mansfield School Board and Arlington School Board. What I want, though, we're not quite there yet. I want our Mansfield folks to the far, I guess that's my right, and for our Arlington folks here to the left. We have a few more Arlington people here tonight, so I think they're going to need a little bit more room. But before I welcome you all to the stage, let me just tell you a little bit about our format for tonight. All candidates will welcome everybody up, and candidates can sit in a random order as long as you're on your right table. Sit however you'd like to sit there. I've got a set of questions right here with me to get things started, but we also want community and audience participation. So we've got some young people from UT Arlington in the back of the room from the NAACP chapter. Y'all, let's clap it up for their community involvement. They're gonna have some questions. They'll have note cards. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, just raise your hand. They will come to you, bring you the note card, bring you a pen, and you can write down your questions. Just because you write down a question doesn't mean it's gonna get asked, okay? So we've got a team here that will be vetting those questions. We wanna keep things timely. We wanna keep things moving. So not every question will be asked. We'll do our best to get through as many as possible. Each candidate will have, in the beginning, you'll have a 2-minute opening statement. Here's your chance to make your case. In the beginning, we'll start on one side of the table. We'll work our way down. At the end, everyone will also get a closing statement that will last 1 minute. And we'll do the opposite order going back from the other side of the table. When it comes to the actual questions, this is sort of a round robin. It's great if everybody answers the questions, but you don't have to answer every question. Just sort of raise your hand and I'll call on you, all right? I'm a professor, that's what I'm used to doing, all right? So make it easy on me. All right, that being said, also what we'll do is that every now and again, maybe one of the candidates has a question for another candidate vying for office. You can ask that question. That person may not want to answer that question, and that's okay too, but I'm only gonna give 1 minute to those responses, all right? With that, at this time, I want to welcome all candidates for Mansfield School Board and Arlington School Board to the table, y'all. Let's clap it up for these folks. By the way, you can come. There are 2 sets of stairs right here to the far left. Why don't you take the far way back? There's some cables here, y'all. All right, you can also come to the far right. To the far, there's some cables there. There's stairs right here in the center as well, all right? Yes, by the way, I'm glad you said that, Billy. We want to remind folks, we are online live tonight. If you have questions, feel free to type those questions into the chat. We've got some folks that are monitoring that. Also want to make it clear that these are the folks that accepted the invitation to be here tonight. We reached out to everyone. Not everyone accepted the invitation. So I don't want you to think that we were selective in who we chose to come. We opened the door to everyone to come. These are the folks who decided to come tonight, all right? With that, we're gonna go on and get things started, okay? We're gonna start, forgive me, I don't know everybody's name. I gotta make one quick announcement though, that there is one name up here that I know pretty well, and that's Dr. Jandale Crutchfield. She and I have worked together at UT Arlington for a number of years. I'm the director of the Center for African American Studies. She's a faculty affiliate in the Center for African American Studies. I don't vote in this election. I just want you to know that, but hey, I've been a supporter of her career long before she thought about doing this. So I just want to be clear that be very transparent and apparent. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's start on the far end. Everybody, you got 2 minutes to announce yourself, make your case to the public before we get started. Oh yes, I forgot to say one last thing. I get to be the good guy tonight. Billy, will you raise your hand, sir? Billy Wilson gets to be the bad guy timekeeper, okay? And Billy will cut y'all off, okay? So let's try to be as efficient as possible in using the time that we have. Thank you, sir, for that reminder. Floor is yours.
When you have 30 seconds left, you'll see yellow, you see red, it's time, your time is up.
Well, good evening. My name is Michelle Newsom. I'm running for MISD School Board Place 1, and I'm extremely excited to be here tonight with you guys. In Mansfield, we don't always get invited to all of these cool kid things in Arlington, so we're excited to be invited. Those of you that don't know, we have about 40% of the city of Arlington that's in Mansfield Independent School District, so it's a really important piece of information and an important vote. A little bit about me. I'm a mom of 2. I'm a grandmother of 1. I'm married, and I've served MISD for over 20 years. And have been fortunate enough for 9 of those years to be serving on the school board. What you don't know about me is I'm a child of a teenage mom. Had me when she was 16 years old, single mom, moved around. I went to 14 different schools before I graduated high school. Had a lot of different experiences, inner city and all over. And so I'm really passionate about making sure that kids all have the same opportunity. I believe that public education is the great equalizer, and I am a testament to that. And so that's where I drive my passion from, because I believe if I can do that, then anybody can. And so I want to prioritize that and make sure that that is what we're handing down to our future generations, and that everybody gets a chance to do all the great things in this world. So with that, I want to be able to continue my service with MISD to do great things for our district. And so I humbly request your vote on May 4th.
Thank you very much. Let's clap it up for her, y'all.
Good evening. My name is Matt Hersberg. I'm running for Mansfield ISD School Board, Place 1. And I'm grateful to be here, glad for the invitation and that able to be in front of you all tonight. A little bit about me. I am an educator and a servant leader. My bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate degree are all in education, educational leadership. And I've served the MISD community for 14 years as a teacher for 4 years, an assistant principal for 4 years, and a principal for 6 years. I'm a current parent of MISD students. I have a 5th grader and 2nd grader, and so have a vested interest in this district and making sure that all kids have the opportunities and the drive to succeed. My wife is a counselor in the district, has been in the district for 15 years. She, has about 20 more years till retirement, so we're long-timers in the district and have deep roots in Mansfield ISD. I have experience across the entire district as a leader. I've been in West Mansfield, East Mansfield, in the Arlington area of Mansfield, in the Grand Prairie area of Mansfield, serving and leading those schools. And the leadership that I bring and the experience that I bring is what I am really running on. I'm running to bring an educator's perspective to the board. I've served students pre and post-COVID. I know the struggles that are happening right now and how to lead through those. I know how to take care of staff. I know how to put students first, and as a board member would want to increase the transparency that the board has to the public. I'm not a politician. I'm just here to serve our students in Mansfield ISD.
Okay, so one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is this one. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And so the purpose of my life is to add value to the lives of others. And if you know me, then it just makes sense how I've set up my life. So it makes sense that I would be 4-H secretary in the 3rd grade. It makes sense that I would go on to be Key Club president in high school, and that as a teenager myself, I would be teaching other kids in Bible class. It makes sense that I would choose as a career social work, a career that's designed to empower others to live their best lives. And as a social worker, it makes sense that I would work in schools, connecting parents with students and teachers and leaders to be able to solve real problems. It makes sense that I would go on to earn a PhD in social work so that I can make sure the profession does its best and that school social workers can make schools even better. And after earning my PhD, that I would earn grants from the federal government to further train students how to work better with students that have special needs. It makes sense then that I'm on national boards for social work. It makes sense that I speak before audiences of 1,000 people or more because people believe about me that I add value to the lives of others. And so it makes sense that 6 years ago when I was offered a job at UT Arlington, that I landed in Mansfield ISD, one of the great districts in North Texas. And yes, it makes sense that I rolled up my sleeves to serve. And so that looks like serving in PTAs, serving teachers by making copies for them. And so I hope that it just makes sense to you that I'm the best candidate in place 2 for the Mansfield ISD School Board after you hear more from me today.
Hello, thank you to the NAACP Arlington chapter for inviting us here this evening, and this is a beautiful church. Thank you so much. I'm Melody Fowler, and I am running for re-election for AISD Board of Trustees, Place 2. I have had the pleasure of serving for 6 years, 2 of those years as secretary, and these last 2 years as president of the Board of Trustees. I've been a volunteer in AISD for over 18 years. 12 of those years when my son was K through 12, I served as room mom, grade rep, PTA president at his junior high, and PTA president at his high school. I also was asked by the principals of elementary, junior high, and high school to serve on their site-based decision-making team. So I loved learning about Arlington and what was involved in AISD. I am a 30-plus year teacher. I have taught everything from 6 through 12, and I currently teach at Arlington Baptist University. I teach English, and I'm VP of University Advancement. I think education is the determining factor in people's future. I work very hard to bring programs to AISD with my board members. We have done tremendous work providing programs across the district, such as the P-TECH programs, the Dan Dipert Center, all of our different academies. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is we make sure that any student that wants to go to a program has transportation. We remove all the barriers. We will take a student from their home campus and we'll take them to any program in our district that they choose to enroll in. I would love to continue serving. We have a new superintendent that's fired up, and I would love to be able to continue serving on AISD. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kathy Arocha, and I am running for Board of Trustees on Place 3. I am a mother and a grandmother of have kids that have gone to AISD and they've graduated from there. A little bit about my background. I have 26 years in corporate America, and a lot of my leadership positions it was within data analytics as well as policies and regulatory and compliance. And also due to my leadership, I was also nominated to be part of the Rising Latinos Leadership Society. I retired early for one reason, because I felt like, it's time, there's more than corporate America. I wanted to do something for the kids. I want to inspire them. I want to mentor them, and what better way to do it than becoming an AISD substitute? So that's what I'm doing now. I grew up as an underserved and socioeconomically challenged family. My family was sociologically and economically challenged. So I understand a lot of things that are happening to a lot of the kids. And one of the things that I really love about being an AISD substitute is I get to really look firsthand and see and talk with the kids and the parents and the community. And it's given me a lot of insight. So I'm really proud about that. And the other thing is that what I want to do is to inspire these kids to become their best self, because I know that that's what's happened with me. I've taken advantage of the education. I went on to get my bachelor's degree, and I'm the only one that has gotten a degree within my family. So I want to do a lot more to bring to the board with my background as well as my insight, and I believe that I'll be an added asset to the board. Thank you.
Hi, my name is April Williams-Moore, and I'm running for Arlington ISD, Place 3. I want to give you a little background about me. So my parents divorced when I was 2, and thank God for my grandmother, because she was there to support my mom while she was working 2 jobs. And so my grandmother would pick us up from school. She would help us with homework, feed us, bathe us, and then put us to bed. I then was also a single mother for over 10 years with my first 2 children, and I am the first in my family to get a bachelor's degree, to get a master's degree, and also to go to the military. Currently, I am married to a public school principal. I have 3 kids, 18, 14, and 6. I have worked in corporate America for over 20 years in budget and finance, and I've also worked in nonprofit, helping to manage over 17 grants in state compliance. I serve on the family engagement team for the district right now, and I've also volunteered over 400 hours in our schools. And being in our schools over 400 hours, not getting paid, this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I enjoy doing, being there for your kids, having an encouraging word, giving them a hug, helping them to channel anger, to channel disappointment. Those are things that are needed, because parent involvement is so crucial. I've also, while serving, not only helping the students, not only helping the educators, but also in the front office. I believe that I've seen the opportunities that we have in the district, and I believe that I have the strengths in those areas, especially when it comes to parent involvement, when it comes to a culture for our educators, and also when it comes to budgets, because the state of Texas has held funds from our schools, and we have to vote for April and April.
Sarah, you've got 2 minutes to make an introduction.
Thank you, and I do apologize for my tardiness. One of my sons was having a school event that I didn't want to miss the entirety of, so thank you for letting me be mom and showing up a little bit tardy this evening. My name is Sarah McMurrow, and I'm your sole candidate for Place 1. And even though I'm running unopposed for a second term as a trustee in Arlington ISD, I think it's very important that I'm still engaging with the community during this election cycle. And just as I always have since my first campaign, I want to be accessible to every voter and every group that cares so much about children and the progress of our school district. A little bit about me. It's funny that I'm sitting in the middle because I'm an employee of Mansfield ISD. I love being an instructional coach and directly supporting our teachers so they could do the best work. And I've been on the school board in Arlington ISD for the past 3 years. I'm right now serving as board secretary, and as Ms. Fowler mentioned, we just hired, after 11 years of having Dr. Cavazos as our superintendent, we just hired a great new superintendent, Dr. Matt Smith, from out of district, and we look forward to the days of his leadership. I ran because I wanted to bring insight straight from the classrooms onto the school board to serve in a governance role. I think my insight has been very valuable, and I think today we need to be doing every possible thing we can to support and empower our educators. I agree with a lot that's already been said about partnering with the state and putting the pressure on them so that they can allocate funds to properly fund public education. I believe in offering a high-quality education that is equitable and top-notch for every child, and I'm really excited to be able to share more with you tonight. Thank you all for having me.
All right, y'all. Thank you very much. Before I get into asking my questions, I want to make it clear I have a bunch of questions to ask, but I want you all to get involved as well. I see that Billy, you've got a few questions already. For our folks that are at home online, Jared Hawkins over here is monitoring the chat, so he's going to check that out. I'll refer to you for questions at various points. Let me also make one more announcement, and that is candidate Newsom and Herzberg are running against one another. So to hold your popcorn right now, because we might get a little action on that side of the table. And actually on this side of the table, we've got Moore and Aroja are running against one another for place 3 here in Arlington. So get your popcorn, y'all. All right, with that, we're gonna start. I've got separate questions for Mansfield and a separate question for Arlington. For my Mansfield candidates, what do you believe will be the greatest challenges facing Mansfield ISD over the next decade? What do you believe will be the greatest challenges facing Mansfield ISD over the next decade? And for my Arlington folks, if you had $30 million to make major changes related to one issue in Arlington ISD, how would you use the funding? All right, if you had $30 million to make major changes to one issue in Arlington ISD, how would you use the funding? Round robin begins. Who's ever ready to go? I just want to see a hand when you're ready to go. There we go. Yes.
If I had 30 million, I think I would put it towards safety. If our students don't feel safe, they can't learn. If our teachers don't feel safe, they can't teach. We're doing a lot in AISD. We've spent money. We've gotten some new high-tech metal detectors, and they're triggered so that they only pick up metal, such as in weapons. It doesn't go off with keys or cell phones or anything like that. We have put those on all of our campuses. We were an unfunded mandate. We were told by the state that we had until September that we had to have an armed personnel on every single campus. Now, of course, they mandated it, but they didn't send any money from Austin to us. We took the money and we hired Arlington Police, and we hired through a security company, and we have an armed personnel on every single campus. We've taken a lot of pride in that. It costs money, but you can't think about the money when it's the children and the teachers' safety. So I think I would put the money towards safety. We've done a lot more in Arlington, some of which I can't really publicly say because we don't want any bad guys learning our tricks and our secrets. But I feel safe when I walk into our campuses. My son is graduated from AISD, but I would feel safe with him being on any campus in AISD. But I would take that money and I would put it towards safety because I think that's my top priority for our students. Thank you.
Yes.
If I had the opportunity to spend that much money in our schools, I believe I would put it on the facilities themselves. Having been in our schools, there are a lot of schools that are old, and when I look at the floors, when I look at students on top of students, when I look at and I go in a classroom and the students are tripping over the backpacks and just right on top of each other, I would do that. I would make sure that our classrooms have the resources that they need so that they can have the opportunities to learn and make sure that they have not only the opportunities to learn, but also the environment, the atmosphere that's a learning environment. I know that we've moved away from having lockers, and I know that some people say it's a safety concern, but I also have a concern with not having their own space, with having everything just right on top of each other and not being able to move around in the classroom. So that's what I would put it on.
Anyone else? Next, I see.
Yes.
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 Kathy.
I actually would have, because safety has been taken care of, I actually would put it on more resources for education, because it's no secret that our scores are low and we need more help with that. So I definitely would want to put it more so there, especially that we're losing some people, some vital people that we're helping in the classroom, like the tutoring and some of the assistants and even after-school care. So I would definitely gear more towards like, okay, what do we need to do to raise those scores in math and reading and so forth? Because I believe that that's really key. And so that would be my priority. Like, let's get these scores up. Let's help these kids wherever they're at, and that way they can, sky's the limit so that they can move forward.
I see Michelle grab the mic. Floor is yours.
Do I get to answer which question I want, or?
No. Follow instructions. We're teaching. I'm sorry.
Okay, so in Mansfield ISD, I think you've heard several of us tiptoe around the topic of state funding. But y'all, if we don't get this fixed, none of us are gonna have new buses, we're not gonna have teachers, we're not gonna have raises, we're not gonna have any of these things. Our special schools and all the great things that we work really hard, every one of us up here at this table, that we work really hard to do within our district. So if we don't pull together as a community, as parents, as a board, as neighboring districts, and come together to help these people in Austin to make better decisions with our money so that these kids get what they deserve, and that's when we get great equity in education. And so I do believe that we need to support teachers, and that's really great. We want to do that. That's obviously one of our key notes here that we need to be thinking about every single day. But we're not going to be able to do any of those things until we fix this state funding problem, and we're going to have to fix it together.
Jandel, floor is yours.
Yes, so I was wondering, Dr. Shelton, why we couldn't also get $30 million to spend. But that's okay. You asked about 10 years of growth, right? And so I think that's apropos because one of the biggest opportunities and challenges that I see in Mansfield ISD is growth. And so we're projected to grow exponentially. I sat on the attendance and growth committee for the district, and so a demographer came out and told us how many people are going to be moving to our area. And so we've got to think about how students are actually going to fit in classrooms and have that space. So whether that's building new schools, using the capacity of the buildings we already have, but also our new staff coming in, how we're actually going to be able to support them and keep them. So the pay for not only our teachers, but our paraprofessionals, focusing on growing populations of students, which includes students that have special needs. And so again, when you grow rapidly, if you don't shore up all of the processes and procedures and the staffing and the training that you already have, then you start to get widening gaps in terms of academic achievement. And so while we're excited about getting new people, increasing the diversity in our district, I think that we need to be focused on controlling the processes, the funding, the staffing to make sure we keep up with the people and the students in our buildings and on our campuses.
Matthew, floor is yours, sir.
In the similar vein of state funding, when I think about the next 10 years in Mansfield ISD, one of the biggest issues that I see is this issue of vouchers that has been in the legislature. Multiple special sessions, the governor trying to get this passed. It's an existential threat to public schools if vouchers are passed into law. And I came from a state where vouchers were in place, from Arizona. And all you have to do is do a quick search and you can see all the negative things that are happening in Arizona because of that policy. It's resulted in huge amounts of inequity, huge amounts of fraud, and when we think of 10 years from now, if vouchers are passed, not only are we not being adequately funded currently, but systematically taking away and destroying public education is what I see in 10 years if this voucher issue gets passed. And to that, we have to come together as a community. I agree with Ms. Newsom and the way that we all have to come together for that solution. Another thing that I see in 10 years is the issue of staff retention. As someone that's been on a campus recently, I see the difference between what our teachers and professionals and paraprofessionals are going through now as compared to just a few years ago. And we're losing quality people. We have to keep those people, and the leadership from the board down is what helps to keep those people. And that's one of the experiences that I bring, is keeping people on campuses. I had retention rates higher than the district average every year as a leader, and those are just some of the ideas that I would have to improve that in the district.
Thank you very much. So now I'm going to ask one question that's specific to Arlington ISD and one question that's specific to Mansfield ISD. Then after that, Billy, I want you to, if you've got something, Jared, if you got something, I'm going to come to you guys shortly. All right, with that, for Mansfield ISD, what are your thoughts about the 5 propositions related to the MISD bond? Do you favor some propositions more than others? What are your thoughts about the 5 propositions related to the bond? Do you favor some propositions more than others? For Arlington ISD, what specific strategies do you propose to address the underperformance in mathematics and reading among 8th grade students in Arlington ISD based on recent analyses by the Fort Worth report? What specific strategies do you propose to address the underperformance in math and reading among 8th grade students in Arlington ISD? I don't know who picked it up first, but I'm just going to randomly say Matthew, since you were last time.
All right, so the 5 propositions that are in the Mansfield ISD bond, the district is asking for $777 million to fund this bond, which is, there's no doubt about it, it's a lot of money. But what puts my mind at ease is the way that the bond was presented to the board and to the community. This was not a bunch of administrators sitting together deciding what they wanted, and we're going to ask the public for all this money to do it. It was a community effort. There was a committee put together of teachers, community members, students, current board members, past board members, district staff that did a needs assessment and figured out I'm sure thousands of things that they really wanted to be able to fund with the bond. And I know that they didn't land on everything that they wanted, but there's a lot in there that's really good for the district. We talk about our facilities being top notch. This bond helps to make sure that our facilities can continue to be top notch. Without the money that comes from the bond, the repairs and the maintenance has to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from our M&O budget, which is already, as we know, not enough. So while I understand the $750 million with a B dollars is a lot, I do support the 5 propositions, but am also grateful that voters have a chance to look at all 5 propositions separately, and it just gives an air of transparency to exactly what is being asked for and allows voters to choose. But I am in favor of all 5.
Michelle, I saw you.
I'm very much in favor of all 5 propositions for our bond. I've had the great opportunity to serve on the board when we've had another bond, and we've been able to do great things and be really fiscally responsible with the dollars. In fact, we've been able to stretch those dollars in past years further than what we intended for them to be used for with that bond. And so while we did have a great process, and that's a great process that we use for making decisions in MISD very frequently, is we put together these great workshops and these great committees of people, and we really get all the stakeholders together to make decisions. But this bond is super important for us, and this is the one time that we do get an opportunity to say that these dollars, if these 5 propositions pass, will touch every single student on every single campus. And we usually can't say things like that. And so when we talk about wanting equity across schools and equity across the district, and for all students, all ages, all needs, this one is going to be really, really important for us. And it's just going to be game changer.
April.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What specific strategies do you propose to address the underperformance in math and reading among 8th graders in Arlington ISD?
Okay, so I believe that we have to look at our current metrics, and then we also have to differentiate learning. But one of the things that I would like to propose in Arlington is what they're doing in Fort Worth ISD. So my husband is a principal at-risk schools, and what they did with the at-risk schools in Fort Worth, they created Leadership Academy. So it's a part of LAN, Leadership Academy Network, and what they did was partner with Texas Wesleyan, and just like we could partner with UTA, but it's a real collaborative partnership, whereas his boss actually does not work for Fort Worth ISD. They work for Texas Wesleyan. And so where the school district is limited in funds, Texas Wesleyan picks that up and makes sure that they have the access and the tools needed. Because one of the reasons why I mention that is because right now the state focuses on the STAR testing, and everyone has their views on STAR testing, right or wrong. I know that when I graduated, I was top 10% of my class. I was a National Honor Society. When I went to take the test for math placement in my college, and keep in mind I have 4 degrees, I was placed in remedial math before I could even get into a math class. And so even when we're meeting the metrics, even when we're doing what we need to do in our classes, it's still not putting our kids in a place where they can score high enough to make sure that they're getting in credit classes. And so we need to look at the whole thing as a whole. I understand we have to meet the state objectives, but we need to go further.
Sarah.
So I want to address the article that you mentioned, and I'm really glad that it was mentioned because we've been trying to address this as we're asked about it. So yes, we have a new local publication called the Arlington Report, and I'm very grateful for this local coverage. I think everyone's very excited about it. We have a reporter that we're working with to make sure he understands the context of everything happening. And in this case, to be really transparent with you, the headline in itself does not provide the context that is needed. So if you actually read the article and you think about the measure of performance, this is talking about STAR, not the actual STAR, but the 8th grade math STAR interim. And what that means is it's a mock STAR test that our students take in the spring to prepare for the actual STAR assessment. Now, if anyone here is familiar with STAR, or not unfamiliar, how about that? If you're unfamiliar, I challenge you to go home this evening and Google search released STAR test, 8th grade math, and I want you to come back to tell me how successful you were on that assessment. It is a very rigorous test, and this is public knowledge. You can see it on blueprint documents. We're giving 8 and 9-year-olds 50-ish questions on this assessment. It's all digital. So a lot of students, of course, with math they need something, pencil and paper to solve their problems. Yes, they can use scratch paper and get special accommodations, but it's a huge change, and many educators and researchers are challenging the cognitive appropriateness of this assessment. So yes, if we're using STAR as our measuring stick, you could say that, yeah, not enough students are meeting the standard. But I've seen our teachers and what they do in the classrooms, and I've seen how our students have been resilient, bounced back post-COVID, and I can tell you there are major gains being made in all areas. I'm very sad that folks look at a headline and make assumptions, so I'm glad I got to clear that up.
Jandel, floor is yours.
All right, so to remind everybody, we're asking about the $777 million bond that will be on the ballot for Mansfield ISD voters. And so you heard Dr. Herzberg and Ms. Newsom talk about the committee that came together to study all of the needs of the district. So I got to serve on that committee, and I'm really excited about all of the things we were able to include in the bond. And so in that first proposition, it's the largest proposition, and so it'll be covering things like end of life, like updating technology, getting this really cool fiber ring around the district so when something is cut, the internet doesn't go out at all these campuses. We'll be able to keep operating, like the phones, and you being able to use our computers. So things like school buses, right? All of those things that we need to update from time to time. And Proposition B, we have more of those things that move around. So those smart boards that are in classrooms that obviously we need, right? It's 2024, those are things that we're using. C, D, and E are more updates for our fine arts and for athletic facilities. And so in Mansfield ISD, we do want to have state-of-the-art facilities for all of our kids engaged in extracurriculars. And so a lot of people sometimes are like, okay, extracurricular is not that important, but we know it actually impacts student achievement, and that's the role, right, of a board member, is to try to make sure we put students first. And so in doing that, and making sure the facilities can take care of our kids and of our staff, that is a role, I think, of the board. And so I do support all of the propositions in the bonds, and that's it.
Yes, Melody.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do to increase achievement is give our teachers time to teach. There are so many other distractions and things that they have on their plate that they have to do instead of just teaching. And as a teacher, I know how important that is, that one-on-one time, saying something 3 different ways, because students don't all learn the same way. So I think giving teachers more time to actually teach, and that's why they're there, and removing some of the things that we can off of their plate. A lot of the things that the teachers have to do are state mandated, and so we can't remove those. But there are some things at the district level that I think would help them. Another thing that I've noticed with teachers and students is test fatigue. We test and we test and we test. And I think that's one of the reasons why students, we may see the dip in achievement, is because they're thinking, it's just one more test. What does it matter? I think if we would remove some of the testing, that would help our students be able to focus more on important tests. As much as I dislike STAR, it's our measurement right now, and that would allow students more time for that test. So I think giving teachers more time to teach and quit testing our students so much where they get that test fatigue, and teachers get test fatigue as well. But I think if we do some things like that, I think we're gonna see our achievement level increase. Also, I'm a firm believer in small group instruction. Some kids don't learn as well in a big group. I know my son didn't. He had 504, he had ADHD. And working in smaller groups is better instruction for some students. So I think those things together would help us with our achievement level in AISD. Thank you.
Kathy, the floor is yours.
Okay, so being an AISD substitute, and I've substituted in various schools and various grade levels, and one of the things that I've noticed is that there's too much screen time. The kids are on their canvas all the time, and not all kids learn the same. So, it's very interesting, because when I went up and did it on the whiteboard, it was like clicking on some kids, and then other kids it was okay to be on screen time. So I think that, I believe that we have to make sure that I call it getting back to basics, making sure that the student is learning in the way that they best learn. The other thing, as Ms. Fowler mentioned, is that there is too much like paperwork or too much reporting or whatever it is that is given to the teachers, and they are overwhelmed. I spoke to one the other day and said, I work till 9 o'clock. I don't get paid for that, but I have to do it because this is required of me. So that is stressing them out. And I've heard other teachers say, you know what, I don't like the way the kids are talking to me. They're being rude to me, and we need to make sure that the policies are followed the way they need to be followed, and I agree. And so there's a lot of combination things that's going on within the classroom. But to raise those scores, you definitely need to get back to basics. The other thing that kids are having a lot of trouble with is when you pass them up to the next level and they didn't pass the previous level. So now they got to learn that one and then learn the next one. So they're pretty stressed out. So we need to get something really in place to get them up to speed quicker so they're not having to do double duty.
All right, everyone. Larry Mike is here, and he's also a candidate for place 3 for Arlington ISD. That means he's running against Kathy and April. So keep the popcorn flowing. Larry, the question was, what specific strategies do you propose to address the underperformance of 8th graders in reading and math in Arlington ISD? You have 2 minutes, sir.
2 minutes, okay. Hey, I apologize for showing up late. I was with a group of teachers at a meet and greet and speaking with them, and The questions ran a little long, so I couldn't leave until I addressed every question. The main thing that we need to understand, right? Education is a collective. You need the community's involvement. It's like a village. A village takes the time to raise that child, and that's what we need to do. We need to come together as a community to raise these kids and teach them effectively. Now, it's already been mentioned about the testing and the over-testing and the over-testing. I have yet to meet on this campaign trail an individual, whether it be a student, parent, or teacher, that says, hey, we love that STAR test. No one likes the STAR test. I think initially it was a good product and a good example, but once you get the government involved, they tend to take things and they destroy it. We need to get back to the basics. We need to focus on ensuring that these kids learn what they need to learn so that they can be successful adults. But the only way we can do it is together as a community, meaning every parent needs to step up, the teachers need to step up, the organizations need to step up, and one of my issues that I propose is community listening sessions, where we go out to the community. We hear your issues, we gather your ideas, we take it back to the board and the superintendent, and that's our roadmap to fix the issues that we have in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Billy, I want to come to you. The time is moving. We're almost pretty much at 8 o'clock. What I want to do, Billy, is if you've got a question, let's ask it. And I want to, forgive me, but can we do this for 30 seconds? Let's just get in and get out and see how many we can get in. Billy, ask your question, sir.
All right. The question is, and I guess everyone can talk about this, as our present bond program, MWE percentage in Arlington is less than 1%. What can we do to increase the MWE percentage in both Mansfield and AISD? We're getting ready to have the bond election. How can we make sure that people get a piece of that pie?
Anybody want to go first? Do we need to give a little flesh and bone for MWBE for the public that may not know what that means?
Okay, for those who might not know, MWB is minority women businesses, and so it's for minority and women business.
Essentially, it's a question that's grappling with women and minority-owned businesses and levels of engagement with the public school system.
Because like with AISD, the spending is like 1%, and so.
Does anybody want to hop in? Larry, I see you holding the mic, but maybe you're just holding it. But I saw Sarah put her hand up.
Go ahead, Mr. Mike, go ahead, I'll follow you, go ahead.
I'm just holding the mic because my last name's
No,
Mike, right?
you got it.
Hey, so real quick, how many of you
30
know
seconds, sir, real
about this program? Look at how many hands went up.
Yeah.
The number one thing that we need to do is education. We have to let the people know. Unlike the days where I grew up where internet wasn't existing until like 97, I think, when we had AOL and Yahoo chat groups, now it's prevalent. Every single one of you, I guarantee you've got a mini computer in your pocket, and every single one of you probably have a social media account. We need to make use of the technology to ensure that everyone knows exactly what needs to take place. Oh, that's my time? Man, that was quick. All right. Community.
Sarah, floor is yours.
Yes, I want to look into that statistic and explore it a little bit more because that's the first I've heard that number. And so I will address that and see if that's the most accurate reflection. I know that we recently learned that we are growing in our involvement of hub participation, different acronym, but I will look into that because that's concerning to me as well.
No problem at all. Anybody else? Jandale, I see
Yeah,
you holding.
I think the challenge, and so I'm not currently on the board, and so I don't explicitly know the policy that exists around seeking minority and women-owned entities, but if we don't have something like that in place, I would hope that the board would try to implement something like that so that we do have data that we're tracking. I don't even know if there is a statistic for Mansfield ISD, honestly, because we may not be engaged in that program or tracking it at all. And so I think it's important to identify if we are, and then to make sure that, yes, MWBE entities get a piece of this bond.
April?
So haven't been over procurement, over category management. I know that when you're writing RFPs, if you already have a vendor in mind, you write the specifications towards that vendor. And so as a board, if we come together and say, hey, someone wants a black chair, the person that needs the black chair should not be writing the specifications for the RFP, and that's how you can make sure that we're looking at it as a whole and making sure that everybody has a chance to answer the RFP.
Michelle, I saw you down there a minute ago. Were you ready to go?
I am. I just believe that if we are able to pass this bond, we have so many more opportunities to put these kind of processes in place. While I'm unaware of anything like this, and like my fellow board members, I would love to look into this a little bit further and do some investigation and how we can be a better proponent of this. But I do believe that passing the bond gives us in Mansfield a better opportunity to set some of these in motion.
Melody, I saw you grab it and then you put it down.
Yes.
All right, so, all right, Matthew, and then Kathy.
Okay.
So I know that from the research that I've done and seen that minority and women-owned businesses are underrepresented in municipal governments and state governments. And in Mansfield ISD, I'm not currently on the board, so don't have a ton of insight into current policy. However, would want to make sure that we examine that and that our purchasing policies are equitable for everyone and that everyone has a fair chance.
Kathy?
Well, everybody said my answer pretty much, but I believe that it needs to be, across the board fair, especially for the minorities, because I'm a minority business owner myself, and I certainly would want that opportunity across the board for all other minorities, as well.
Very good. Jared, I'm going to ask you, do you have a question, sir? I do not, no. You do not. All right. That being said, it is going on the hour, and I know we got city council folk in the room for their opportunity. So we're going to do 1 minute to close. Okay? I believe it is your turn, April. 1 minute. We're going to go down the road. Tell us the final pitch for why we should vote for you.
So thank you again for having us here, and I hope, if nothing else, you guys can hear and see that I have a servant heart. Being alumni of Dallas Baptist University, it was servant leadership. Being in the Air Force, it was our core value was service before self. I, again, have been in our schools over 400 hours with our kids. A lot of my opponents say these kids, our kids. I've been in there with our kids, and I just want to make sure that, again, on the board currently, we have a lawyer, we have a small business owner, we have prior teachers. We need someone that understands business and finance. I have experience with multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts. I have experience with 17 grants, and I am currently invested because I am a small business owner, but being a small business owner is not the same experience when you come to those multi-million-dollar. So again, I hope you vote for April in April.
Everybody, let's clap it up for each of these candidates tonight. With that, I'm going to ask you all to exit stage left. Say what? Oh, snap, did I forget? My fault. I'm sorry, Mansfield. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the clock. I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry. My fault. Good God, fire me. Sorry. I know, right?
Okay, thank you, everybody, for this evening. I really appreciate it. And as I mentioned before, I am a 26-plus year in corporate America. I do have extensive experience in budgeting and project management. I'm also a state delegate for District 10, so I believe that I could use that voice to speak on behalf of AISD. I love kids. There's just something about every time I engage with them, I just want to encourage them. I want them to become their best self. That is my whole goal. That is the whole reason why I retired, because I wanted to get into this space. I want to make a difference, and I believe with my background, and also now with new responsibilities and being a state delegate, I believe that I can bring that, all of our concerns, be a voice for AISD. So I would appreciate your vote. Again, Kathy Arocha, and I am for place 3.
Thank you so much for this evening, and thank you for the very thoughtful questions. They were good questions. I'm very proud of my record on AISD Board of Trustees. I've been serving for 6 years and 2 years, the past 2 years as president. I want to continue. I love AISD. I'm a firm believer in education. I'm a teacher, and I would really appreciate your support. Melody Fowler for place 2. Thank you.
We'll clap it up at the end.
So again, I'm Sarah McMurrow. I'm your sole candidate for place 1, and even though I'm unopposed, I'm very grateful for your opportunity to allow me to serve over the past 3 years, and I'm looking forward to another term. I'm a proud AISD mom of 2 boys. I'm a proud AISD alumni, graduated from James Bowie High School. I taught in Arlington ISD for 12 years, and now I'm still an educator next door at Mansfield ISD, but I love serving on the school board. Since my tenure, we've hired a superintendent. He's top-notch. We've expanded community engagement through new initiatives such as trustee talks and board briefs, so our community is informed. We have started the first of its kind in the nation, STEM-based free pre-K-4 program at all traditional elementary schools, which has been a game changer for our community. And these are just a few of the highlights from my past 3 years that I really want to showcase to y'all. Public schools, we have great things going on, and I just appreciate you all as voters. Thank you.
Hey folks, so my name's Larry Mike, running for place 3. I am a military veteran, I'm a family law attorney, and I own a small business here with employees. One of the things that I want to really let you know, right? The school board makeup, it's like a team. If you ever seen the movie Avengers, each one has their own skill set. You have the opportunity to choose someone who is a business owner, who has military experience, who sits on a board currently for Alliance for Children that deals with kids who have been sexually abused. Another thing is I've been endorsed from the mayor on down. I just got notification tonight that I've been endorsed by the United Educators Association, which deals with the teachers. The reason why is because it's community. It takes all of us to ensure that we're successful. If the school district is successful, then this community is successful. But the only way we can do that is together. 78% of these kids are from a lower socioeconomic status, just like how I was. Education transformed my life, and it can do the same for them. And I want to ensure that they go on the same pathway that I did, whether it's military, whether it's education, or whether it's a college or training career program. Thank you.
All right, so as I've been block walking and meeting people in neighborhoods, I have heard this: we got you, or I got you. And so that means they'll be supporting me in this election. And so I want to wrap up by just saying, if you're in Mansfield ISD, I got you. And so that means that I'm going to show up for you. We may not always agree on everything, but you're going to know that you have an advocate in that seat. My opponent tonight didn't show up. I've been at every single interview, podcast, candidate forum, even with people who believe different things than I do, because I believe voters should be able to hear from me. And so I'll keep that up if elected to the board. I am a social worker. I'm a professor at UT Arlington. I'm a mother of 2 in Mansfield ISD. I'm a dedicated volunteer. My name is Jandel Crutchfield. I'm running for place 2 in Mansfield ISD. And so all the things I listed are important, but most importantly, I'll show up.
I, again, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Like I said before, I'm running as an educator, running as a servant leader. And my 14 years of service to Mansfield ISD, my fact that I'm a parent of 2 Mansfield ISD students, my wife is in Mansfield ISD, all of these things have brought me to this place where I'm running to be a school board member of, for place 1 in Mansfield ISD. I've worked across the entire district, worked in Title I, non-Title I. I opened up a STEM academy in the district. I have the experience to come to the board, to be someone that brings solutions, to be someone that can come to a consensus, that can work as a team to have the best outcome possible for each of our students, parents, and community members. My educator's perspective and expertise is why I'm the best candidate for Mansfield ISD Place 1. Thank you.
All right, well, as Mr. Mike said, my Avenger quality is I'm a trauma nurse by trade, and I run a $100 million business that's local. So I bring that true integrity, financial operations and such to the board. And like our team, it needs to be diverse and such. And so I bring that healthcare, that nursing, that advocate, that big business operations, and that fiscal responsibility to the board. One of the things that you get to do as a new board member right off the bat is you get to attend graduation. You're on the stage, you have to just picture these, in Arlington and in Mansfield, there's hundreds, 500, 600 kids coming across the stage. You get to shake each one of their hands, you get to look into their eyes. And so it's really, really important for you to understand that what we want to do up here is change the world, y'all. And when you're standing there up on stage, you get a chance to really understand the depth of what your decisions mean. That's really, really important. I would be humbled to have your vote on May 4th so I can keep up changing the world.
Hey, everybody, let's clap it up for all of these candidates now. All right. And remember to go to the polls, May 4th.
April 22nd.
Oh, April 22nd. There we go, there we go, there we go. Thank you all. All right, let's welcome up our candidates for Arlington City Council as well.
Love your eyes on the UTA colors, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Mic check.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming. Okay, mic check. This was the one at the end.
Any order you want, fellas, want to say? All righty, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. All right, one more time, good evening, everybody. For all my good brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha in the back of the room giving them great grips, I need y'all to kind of do that a little more quietly. It's time to move on to the next portion of our evening tonight. I want to appreciate you all being here. We're now going to hear from candidates that are running to serve as members of the Arlington City Council. Y'all, let's clap it up for these candidates. We're going to follow the same procedure as the last panel discussion. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening introduction. I've got a set of questions here to begin conversation. You all will have 2 minutes to respond until we sort of get to the point where we kind of need to move it a little bit further and get to 1 minute or 30 seconds, depending on how that goes. Folks in the audience, going to encourage you all to write questions. Where are my students from UTA? Maybe are they still here? Well, we're going to figure this one out on the fly, okay? And then also for folks that are online to submit questions. With that, let's go on and get started. We're going to start with Chris over there on the end. The 2 minutes are yours, sir, to introduce yourself and deliver your opening pitch.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak with you again. This is my 14th year running for office here in Arlington. I'm attempting to create a new model where we don't have to raise money to run for office, that regular people can step up in our community and take part in meaningful ways, not just on the council, but throughout our community. I grew up here in Arlington, graduated Arlington High, went off to TCU, came back to UTA for my master's in public administration. And I found that really informative in helping me understand how this city actually operates. And I know from listening at the city council meetings and other places that we have some real issues in our city. First and foremost, our citizen engagement, resident engagement. So many of our programs are anemic from a lack of public involvement and the real information that comes from the public to guide these programs. We also have issues of accountability and transparency that we need to address. One of the things that struck me this year is that we have a police officer that got a Medal of Valor for an action which the city later paid out to the family of Tavis Crane $1.9 million. And I just do not comprehend that. And lastly, we have real issues of affordability in Arlington. We need to take a look at, is that? Okay. We need to make sure that our residents can take part in our community and not be strangled by high energy bills, by high water bills, by high rent bills, by high food bills. In ways that the city can help, it must help our residents. And unfortunately, I see our focus instead on collecting tourist dollars rather than really getting into our community and helping our residents. And so these are going to be my goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you to the NAACP for hosting this and for all the community members coming out. These forums are important. Campaigns are important to get your message out. My name is Bowie Hogg. I'm running for re-election at District 7. Chris and I are running for the same seat, and we're an at-large. So anyone in the city of Arlington can vote. In Arlington, there's 5 single members and then 3 at-large council members that serve on that, and then the mayor is at-large. So I am born and raised here in Arlington. I grew up here my entire life, went to public schools here, then went off to Texas A&M University, then came back and chose to live here. My wife is raised here in Arlington, went to UTA, and then we got married and we decided to choose to live in Arlington and raise our family here. We have 7-year-old and 9-year-old daughters that we hope choose Arlington to live in. Arlington's very different than it was when we grew up here. Arlington is a large urban city, and we need to act like it. And many a times we don't. I'm very proud of Arlington. I'm very proud of the progress we make, but we always have more work to do. When I look at what we do, I bring to the table, I'm a digital health executive working in this world. My wife runs a small business, so I get to see it from both sides what we did. But my service to Arlington is probably what I'm most proud of. For the last 14 years, I served as a school board member in the Arlington Independent School District. So I have the governing experience, because governing is very difficult. It's very hard. People always ask me what's the difference on school board and city council. I said, school board may be the hardest thing to do right now, but city council, there's so many different balls in the air. It is truly one of the most difficult jobs I've ever seen to keep a balance of all these things going on. I'm proud to serve Arlington. I've served things such as United Way of Tarrant County working on social services, the Theater Arlington Board, the Junior League of Arlington Advisory Board, the Chamber Board. Across the board, I've served in the city, and I'm proud to be asked for your re-election to serve again.
evening. Thank you, NAACP, for giving us an opportunity to come here and speak with you. I'm Dr. Tim Goss, and I'm running for District 1. I'm a lifelong public servant. Pretty much started my journey when I was 18 years old, serving through my church, and at some point, because we were kind of economically repressed in the areas that I lived, I joined the Army because really I didn't see any way out. Ended up being the best thing I ever did in my life. Spent 20 years in the Army. They paid for my education all the way up to a PhD, and I learned a lot in an environment where really a lot of times that's where we want to be as a culture, because in the military, you don't care what somebody's race is, what their religion is, none of that. When they're in the foxhole next to you, all you care about is whether they can shoot straight and drag you home if you get shot. So you see a different perspective of the world, so that when you come back and see a lot of the problems that we have in the local community, it's a little shocking at first, and you get kind of that cultural shock. You know, I've also served, you know, through my church. I'm very active in the community, and before I decided to run for city council, I did a lot of outreach through the community and charity programs and all through the North Davis Church. And it gave me a really good understanding of the need in the city and just how disparate things are across the city. I live in District 1. District 1's doing pretty well. Some of the other districts, not so much. And I've also served on the Citizen Bond Committee. I've got a good understanding of infrastructure needs of the city, you know, got my hands dirty trying to understand how our local government works, and in 30 seconds. And, you know, just get my hands dirty, understanding kind of what we're up against, and there's never enough money to do what we need. So we just have to do a better job of getting out there and digging in and finding out where we can improve what we're doing for the city. And beyond that, you know, we just have to work together and come together as a city. And I think we're doing a pretty good job in Arlington, but we can do better. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mauricio Galante. I'm an immigrant. I grew up in Brazil, in a poor family. I started working when I was... Time out. I started working when I was 12 years old to help my family. The first shoes I ever put in my foot was 16 years old. The Navy gave it to me. I served the Navy in Brazil 15 years, all the way to Lieutenant Commander. Left the Navy, opened my businesses, stayed 3 more years in Brazil, and I decided to migrate to the United States. I started from the scratch here. I had to go through my certifications and training. I was a skydiving instructor, and I did all the jobs that I had to do in order to succeed. So I lived in a tent for several months. I was dishwasher, cleaning houses. I did everything I was supposed to. A year and a half later, I have my business. I was successful in my skydiving school up in Connecticut. And then I decided to come down to Texas, and I'm here for 10 years. We started from the scratch again, but this time with a little family. My wife and I, a 2-year-old kid. We own the Golf Center of Arlington up north, and it's been a success model for Top Golf. The business we started from the scratch now is replicating 1,000 locations in 34 countries. And I was responsible for creating a system called Top Tracer, the system you see on TV when it tracks the shots. And with my business successful in the community, the help of the community that we have, up to 14,000 members we have in our business, it was time to serve back and give back to the community that gave so much to us. So I'm running for City Council District 1. I want to use my entrepreneur experience, my budget management experience, and my fostering community relations skills to help advance our city and solve the challenges we have ahead on District 1 in the city of Arlington. I appreciate you having us here today, and I'll talk to you later.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jacob Franklin. I'm a tech support engineer. I'm experienced at communicating with and supporting customers and problem solving. I'm a passionate advocate for increased investment in transportation infrastructure, for affordable living conditions, housing for everybody, and given the opportunity to serve the city, I would be happy and grateful, and hope to bring a more of a perspective about the needs of the workers to the council, and advocate for the best possible living conditions for everyone here in Arlington.
Hello, my name is Raul Gonzalez. I've been in Arlington for 44 years, so it's not something I just all of a sudden you see me. I've been involved a lot in the community. I was born and raised in El Paso. I moved here to go to UTA in 1980. Loved the city, fell in love with my university. I always wanted to give back. I always thought I'd go back to El Paso and run for office. Turned out I ended up staying here and loving it. I first got involved. I run a law firm. It's a small law firm. It's a small business, so I understand how important it is, how to spend the dollars wisely. We don't have a line of credit. We don't take loans. We have to pay our employees. You got to give them the raises. They have a family. You got to take care of your employees. Everybody from from the lower end to the top end. It's a team effort. It's one of the greatest things I've ever done is work for a firm that's small, and everything that I have is because of that firm. I was on the school board for 10 years at Mansfield ISD. I live in South Arlington. I served from 2010 to 2020, and then I was elected to city council in 2020. After term limits, I knew somebody's life was going to change. Little did I know it was mine. I've been really involved in the community. My wife and I started when we first got married in '86. We've been married 37 years. Same job 40 years, so I lead a boring life, but I'm really loyal. But my wife and I, we first started volunteering at the Life Shelter in 1986, and I've been working with the Salvation Army, Hope Tutoring, East Arlington Renewal. We used to go to Rankin, Blanton, Hutch, Carter, all those schools that needed people involved, and that's how I first got involved. And somebody said, you need to run for office. So I just want to represent the people, and just to let you know, I'm just a city councilman for a district, but my vote counts the same as everybody else's on city council. Thank you.
First, I would like to say thank you to the NAACP Arlington branch number 6298, and it's an honor to be here tonight. And my name is Long Pham. I'm running for re-election for Arlington City Council, District 6 at large. That means I represent the entire city. That means everyone that registered to vote in Arlington can vote for me. I came to this country 49 years ago. I got a pretty humble background. As a refugee from South Vietnam, it's mom, dad, 7 of us, clothes in our back, $15. So I can relate it to 75% of the kids that from Arlington that come from economically disadvantaged. I can relate to all of them, even some homeless people. And I have the honor to serve our country in the Army National Guard, Army Reserve for 31 years. And I worked 25 years on auto insurance claims as a claim representative and supervisor. That's customer service. So I do have a lot of leadership experience and customer service. So I'm ready and able to serve the citizens of Arlington for the past 2 years. And as I told all my constituents, do not call me councilman because I will not help you. Call me Long or call me Pham. And that's all I care about because I'm just like all of you. You live in Arlington, you have the business. I represent you and I work for you. So I'm not any smarter than you. I'm just like everybody else. But I'm in the office because you have the trust and confidence to put me in there to serve you. So I have the honor, and I want to continue to serve for the next 3 years. It's a new term now, and I would be an honor if you come out and rehire me on April 22nd, April 3rd, early vote, and election day 30 April. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we're going to begin our discussion. Again, I have a set of questions. Would love to get the community involved. My UTA students are back there now, y'all. So and they've got cards and they have pens if anyone has a question that they would like to ask. That being said, let's get it started. If elected or re-elected, what would be your top 3 priorities as a member of the Arlington City Council? What would be your top 3 priorities? 2 minutes, and whoever raises their hand first, Raul, I see you're ready to go, sir.
I'm unopposed, but I think it's really important to be at these candidate forums because it's important to listen to the people. You know, in my 14 years, I've only missed 1 meeting. I was in the emergency room when I was on the school board. I think it's important that safety is important. Great communities and great roads. If you don't have those 3 things, people will not live in your city. You've got to offer that to every citizen offer the best life that you have, allow you to enjoy your city, and we represent everybody. So representing the city and listening to everybody, and making sure everybody feels safe, the communities are good, and making sure that the streets are good, it's important. So there's a lot of things that we need to work on, but I really believe, keeping the citizens here, having citizens come over here, making sure we keep taxes down, all helps with that. So there's a lot of things that we're working on, but I'm looking forward to hopefully serve another 3 years. Thank you.
Bowie?
Thanks, Jason. There's a lot to handle in the city, but if you have to narrow it down to 3, you have to go with public safety first. If you don't have a safe city with police and fire, you don't have anything else. All the other plans we want to do don't work. We have to have that. We have to have that as number 1 priority of what we do. The second thing is we're in a redevelopment phase in Arlington. We've got to find some ways to really encourage and incentivize redevelopment in Arlington. You can go over, you can talk to Sue Phillips in East Arlington. She can tell you which apartments are run by slumlords and which apartments are really run by owners that are trying to do the right things. We have to be forceful on those items from what we're doing to help that. We also have to say, you look at things and say, a boarded up building doesn't do us any good in this town. It increases crime, it increases all kinds of things. So what are we doing to bring those things up to levels that can be used within our community, from multi-purpose areas, all types of things. The last thing we have to think about, and you look at Arlington, the economic disparity in Arlington is huge. There's a huge economic disparity. Mentioned District 1. District 1 has the largest economic disparity in Arlington, from wealth to low socioeconomic status. You have to produce that. How do we produce that? We need to create more jobs. We need to create high-paying jobs in Arlington to be able to help our citizens. We used to be a commuter town. We don't have to be a commuter town from what we're trying to do. We've got to bring that up and help bridge that gap on the economic disparity.
Mauricio?
I'm gonna piggyback a little bit of what Bowie Hogg says. Yes, I'm proud to be endorsed by the Arlington Police Association and the Professional Firefighter Association. If we don't have the first responders, we don't take care of them, they cannot take care of us. That's my first priority. In Arlington, specifically, North Arlington, we've been 10 years in the making having a police station, a sub-police station. So it's taking too long. We take 2 years to build a stadium and 10 years to build a police station. We need to increase police presence so it can mingle in the community and can prevent crimes. Crime prevention is big, and we need to invest in technology to make sure that we deter and lower crime rates. Big police community also, having the police bridge the gap with the community. I want to invest on the police athletic league that gets the underprivileged kids after school and teach them leadership skills. That's very important to me. The second thing will be small business. We need to invest in the city and make sure the permitting process and the certification process for a new business in town has to be streamlined and has to be predictable and has to be expedited. So entrepreneurs and business owners like me can see Arlington like a friendly city for new investors. And that's how we're gonna foster economic development and bring more jobs to the city. And also partnering with education institutions like UTA to get the brightest minds that are graduating over there. The students are back in there, right? You like that, huh? Yeah, getting the students that when they graduate here, they don't go away to other cities. So we're spending taxpayer money, to get those guys here to study here, then they go out and go work for somebody else. We want them working here, keep here, right? And that's how my 3 priorities on the City Council for District 1.
Very good, thank you. Who's next? Let's go. Is that Jacob? I saw you.
So, in order to keep everyone safe, I want to address the root cause of violence and disparity in our community. So I would prioritize 3 things: investment in transportation infrastructure. There's missing sidewalks all over Arlington. It's not really that bikeable, and I would also be pushing for us to connect to DART whenever possible to enhance inter-regional mobility. Second priority is affordable housing. So I want to fight for mixed-use zoning and higher density zoning to keep the price of housing down and address the homelessness crisis. And third is fulfilling employment for everyone. And I think this ties in with addressing safety, because once we put the citizens of Arlington in a position where their basic needs are consistently met, then we'll have people here who are in a good position to start local businesses themselves and bring more jobs to the area.
Thank you. Tim or Chris, either of you. Tim, I saw you got the mic in your hand.
Can you hear me? Here we go. My top 3 priorities, obviously, number 1 is public safety. It seems to be that's everybody's primary. Number 1 priority, there we go, is public safety. And pretty much, if you don't have a safe city, then nobody really wants to live here. So what's the point of everything else that we do in the council? Obviously, the focus is going to be on getting the substation open to address some of those crime centers that we have in North Arlington. But we really have to look deeper and see kind of what's causing some of that stuff. And I think it ties into my second priority, which is bringing more of the complementary elements, because we built a lot of really nice brand new multifamily and other developments in North Arlington, but we haven't done a great job of bringing in jobs, retail, restaurants, and the other support structure in there that can ground somebody to Arlington. You really need to have that there so that when you bring new residents in, they have something to do. They have a place to go to work, and not just run-of-the-mill minimum wage jobs. We're talking about professional jobs. And we're really lacking in a really large employer in North Arlington. It would be really nice to bring in, coax one of them to come in there and set up and bring those professional jobs so that you could live here, stay in the same job 20, 30 years, have your 401k and all the stuff that kind of eludes people because we're not doing a good job of developing all of that stuff in conjunction with our multifamilies and some of the other things. And then, with our lower income housing, land is so expensive now, we have to really get into the redevelopment phase of those. Everybody, no matter what your income level, deserves a clean place to live and a safe place to live. So if the slumlords, absentee owners that really don't care about this city are not taking care of making sure these buildings are up to code, making sure that they, have security on site so that somebody can go to work and not come back home and have their house ransacked. We need to kind of do a better job of that, because really that's one of the bigger problems that we have in North Arlington. And then the final priority is infrastructure, making sure that we're keeping our roads in. So, thank you.
Chris?
Yeah, so I touched on these a little bit earlier. Citizen engagement, transparency and accountability, and affordability as being the main issues that I see facing our city. And I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper on transparency and accountability. Our gas well drilling policy right now was created a few years ago and has some really good policies in it to make sure that we're doing it in ways that are as safe for our community as we can get away with. However, we've started doing them through administrative processes instead of going through our council, which means that these are sometimes approved in ways that I don't think really give the public the amount of information they need about industrial processes in their neighborhoods. We have an aspirational goal for a lot of our MWBE contracts, and I think it's time that we move from an aspirational goal to a real standard. We can maintain an aspirational goal higher than that, but we must ensure that every one of the contracts we approve out of the city of Arlington is in alignment with what we state are our goals. These are the important things we have to do to maintain trust and accountability with our residents. I'm just so much fun at parties. I stayed home and read the fiscal year 2023 year-end budget analysis review, which is one of those documents they hide way back on the city website. But I noticed that $11 or $12 million of funds were moved from our water department into our Arlington Tomorrow Fund. That means that our ratepayers are now paying for something that is not water. And I think that breaks our fundamental trust as residents when we see our water fees going higher and higher each year. And finally, I think for transparency and accountability, we need to invest in our Unity Council to have a police oversight committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, it is going on 9 o'clock. We got 20 minutes to 9, and I want to get us more questions in. So what I'm going to do is cut these down to 1-minute answers, okay? You all raised some great points, and I've got some follow-up questions here. Love to get to you, Billy, and I don't know where Jared went. All right, I guess you brothers got it now? All right, sounds good. Okay, that being said, I have had the honor and privilege of chairing the Arlington Unity Council for about 3 years now. And the Unity Council is our city's diversity task force. Back in August last year, we submitted a final report to the Arlington City Council that addressed various issues such as racial and ethnic disparities, challenges facing older adults in our city, local residents with disabilities, and our city's LGBTQ community. Have you read the report? And if so, please comment on some of the recommendations that most strongly resonated with you for whatever reason. So if anyone wants to go first. Chris, you kind of raised this with the Unity Council a minute ago, so why don't you get us started off?
You bet. I have read the 2023 report, and to be honest, there's a few things that I disagree with in it. But the things that really stood out to me were some of our housing recommendations. I think, again, freeing up people's income through affordable housing will do a huge deal to build our community. I also liked some of the issues of improved communications, and I think we can achieve that by moving some of our government functions onto an app that gives people a real connection and the ability to customize the information they get from the city to match their needs. And then I also will be working to maintain the Unity Council, which were a couple of the suggestions from the council, because I really feel as though it has redefined what we look at as a committee in Arlington. For a long time, it seemed like the people on that committee just drew out of their own personal experience the solutions we were going to have. The Unity Council really looked outside of the city of Arlington, took the lead from other cities. Thank you.
Mauricio, I saw you next, and then Bowie.
Yes, the Unity Council report, what strikes me was the rental burden level of the families in Arlington. So we see the white population, 45% of the families are rent burden. That means they pay more than 30% of their household income is expended in rental or mortgage. And then you jump to 55% when you get to the Latinos community. And then you jump to 59% on the people of color community. So it won't be a easy problem to solve, but I have some ideas how can we tackle this. First, I would start educating people in financial education. The earlier you can start teaching people in financial education, and this job can be done together with the ISD. We can have the kids understanding the power of management, money management and budget management. And maybe in the future, there can be city councils to manage the budget in the city, right? And the earlier we start this, the better. And the second, teach the families, the parents that are cash strapped and they're spending too much. And then we can help them get out of the rat race.
Bowie, I saw you next, sir.
Thanks, Jason, and I'll be quick. I've read the Unity Council. I've voted on and approved the new one. The 137 pages, I keep it constantly on my iPad, which is with me all the time.
That's a heck of an answer. You might as well just stop, right?
That's all I need. I think as you look at the recommendations, and the nice thing about it, it talks about what was done in 2021 to now, and how many have been completed or in the process of being completed. But the most successful thing they did, the biggest impact we've had on Arlington, was hiring a chief equity officer. Troy is possibly one of the best employees I've seen. He takes a real approach. He takes approach of not just some far off dream ideas, but actually action plans of how to make an impact on what we're trying to be on there. When we brought him in, he came in about 2-3 months after I was elected in 2022, and I still would say it's probably one of the best hires we've made in the city of Arlington because he brings exact action. The last thing I'll say on there, if you look at that, and to follow Mauricio, the rent burden is a huge piece. It's increased, it's becoming a bigger increase. And then you look at the quality of life stats. I'm a big survey guy because it gets a big, vast majority of the community of what's happening. And you look at that, and you look at our quality of life areas, and our Latino community has had a huge increase in that, and we have to be focused on that, in bad quality of life.
Jacob, I saw you next.
Thanks for your work on the Unity Council. I read the report, and I was really happy to see how it outlined the disparity in, the number of, the demographics moving into the area versus businesses started by those demographics, as well as affordable housing not being addressed. And that's a big priority for me. So I want to really, first of all, implement the rest of the recommendations that the Unity Council has not gotten approved yet, and focus on the basics to address the disparities in our community: affordable housing, access to transportation to get to work, and all the other necessities as well. Thanks.
Do anyone else want to answer this question, or do we move to the next one? Tim, yes, sir.
Yes. So, I looked at the old report and then kind of did the talking points on the newer one. And, no matter how hard I try, and what I really love about the Unity Council is that, I cannot really understand what it's like to be a minority and walk in your shoes. No matter how I try. I can read all the books and, do all the right things, but really not fully understand that. So I rely heavily on the Unity Council and their recommendations. And, I went through those. Everything looked reasonable. I didn't see anything in there that was fraught with any political narrative or anything. It was just how to make, Arlington better to serve our people and our voters. And, if elected, I hope to continue to support the Unity Council, and hopefully you continue to give us these good recommendations so that we can make Arlington a better place to live, work, play, and raise a family. So,
appreciate that. Raul, sir.
I'm going to keep it simple. A lot's been said already. It's a living document. We have to look at it all the time. We have to see what's going on. I'm glad the community is involved. We've had several people serve on the committee. We represent everybody. You got to hear from everyone in the community. It's a living document, and it's serving its purpose. And I think Mauricio mentioned about financial knowledge for our schools. That's one thing that Troy put in. He's meeting at, I think, Sam Houston and Seguin, and he's going to do that for those schools, and he's going to reach out to Summit and Timberview. So there's a lot of great things. As Bowie said, Troy's a great hire. He's doing a lot for the community, and he likes to listen to people and comes up with solutions rather than problems. So thank you.
Long? Yes, sir.
Well, the Unity Council is God sent. I can tell you this. Since I hired Mr. Troy Williams, I hear his name all the time. That's man, I call him you the man. Because anytime I ask him to do something, he get it done for me. And I got another task for him coming up here shortly in a couple of weeks. And I know, knowing Troy, he going to get it done. And thanks to Dr. Sheldon, he chaired the Unity Council. And a couple of incidents happened because the war in the Middle East, and then happened down in Dallas and the other city. Thanks to the Unity Council, we're able to talk to our leaders around the community and our police department, Chief Jones. And so we able to keep the peace in our city, and that's because of Unity Council. And thank Dr. Shelton for chair that committee. I hope don't have term limits. We're gonna keep you in there. And like I said, I tell all the people underserved, I came to this country poor and broke. I understand your struggle because I struggle. Nobody can understand your struggle like I do. And I did promise the people of Arlington when. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Appreciate the strong support for the Unity Council, y'all. A lot of people have worked really hard on that over the years. Damon, you have a question, sir?
Yes, we do. We have a question in the chat. Ebenezer Historic African American Cemetery has been neglected for years. As steward of the cemetery, what is the plan of the council to secure the graves on Arlington property? It says currently located in Hanley Hill.
Okay, now that's a new one for me. This is a black cemetery in the city? Really? Not sure are any of y'all familiar with that? Anybody? Long fam, sir? Let's do this for 30 seconds. Let's, the evening's moving on.
Well, recently, about a year ago, we have the Arlington Memorial Ground at Arkansas in Matlock, and there are a lot of marker that for African American way back in the 1800. Then there's a organization 513C, and I did donate the money, and we fixed it up. There's a fence that look real nice. So if someone out found something, let us know. We're gonna contact the city manager office, and we're gonna send somebody to do some research and get that taken care of.
Okay,
Mauricio,
and if I
I
could-
thought I saw you. Were you going to say something? Or Billy, you wanted to hop in, sir?
Yes, and if I could, y'all probably will be hearing about it because it is a cemetery. It's got Buffalo soldiers, World War II people. It's up on behind Lake Arlington and the electric plant. It's up there, and so you will probably be hearing because there's concerns about it being desecrated.
Oh, that's a really important issue.
Yeah, and right up here off 330. Right
Okay.
by the power plant.
Mauricio, I saw you first if you were going to. Jacob, did you want to?
So I hadn't heard about this cemetery before, but whatever the concern is, I would definitely be advocating for them to be addressed and, you know, fix it up, invest in it, and keep it looking good. Whatever is needed there. Thanks.
Wonderful. Bowie, yes, sir.
I'll add one thing, and Long mentioned it a little bit. The Arlington Memorial Heritage Grounds was kind of the first step in that. There was a lot of graves that weren't acknowledged, and that place, it become run down. We also, as a council, have started taking more an impact on this. The old Arlington Cemetery was abandoned. It was one of many abandoned cemeteries, and we worked with Representative Turner, Chris Turner, and got it passed to now be able to have it and almost reopen that cemetery. And I think that process has to happen across the board. Do we have an exact plan for this one? No, I haven't seen one yet, so I don't have that answer, but I do think it's something as a council we need to start addressing, because if you've watched, there's been many stories on 60 Minutes, especially at the African-American cemeteries, where developments have been built above it. Above the ground, and there's a great 60 Minutes special if you haven't seen that one about that, and I do think it's something we have to address and look at it and develop a plan for.
Mauricio, I saw you.
Yeah, since the comment here is about the discovery of that cemetery that we need to be dedicated, do a dedication and work with the Historic Society to revamp back. I had the opportunity to go to the inauguration of the Heritage Cemetery. They did a great job there. There's still some graves to be located on the place, but you have you do a self-guided tour. You have your QR codes and it tells the story how or they, especially the black community back in the 1800s, were buried over there. Also, let's not forget not only the cemetery that Bowie mentioned. I was there too, but the Veterans Park, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the Veterans Park, we had the memorial, which Mr. Longfen gave the address at Veterans Day last year. It was beautiful. And now we have the Korean War Memorial, and we have so many things there. So my take is that as a society that does not recognize what the past generations did for us to get here to this point, so there's no place in the future. So every opportunity we find to locate, address, revamp, reinaugurate, and celebrate the achievements of our ancestors, we are leaving a legacy for our future, for our kids.
All right, thank you very much. It is going on 9 o'clock, and I'm going to be very respectful for you all's time. I know we got to go to work in the morning. Want to get in at least one more question. Let's keep this 30 seconds, all right? And I know the 30 seconds is not going to do this question justice, but let's see how far we can get with 30 seconds. If elected, how would you address growing numbers of homeless people here in Arlington? If elected or re-elected, how would you address growing numbers? Jacob?
One of my priorities is addressing the affordability of housing in this city. So I'll definitely be advocating for affordable housing by zoning and other means to keep people housed, and also I want to keep people employed and give everyone the basic needs they need. We need mutual aid networks to reach these people where they are. Thanks.
Yes, Raul, I saw you grab the mic.
Thank you. It's a great question. We had a report the other day from the Homeless Coalition where in one day, they counted all the homeless in Tarrant County, and the numbers show that we had 308 homeless people in the city of Arlington, some sheltered, some unsheltered. There's a lot of programs out there, Arlington Life Shelter, Salvation Army, And we just got to keep doing what we're doing. You know, compared to Tarrant County, they have over 2,100 homeless. We have a police unit that takes care, that follows up with these homeless people, make sure they got the need, whatever the resources they need. A lot of these people don't want help, and so, thank you.
Mauricio, I saw you next.
Yes, crucial is to give more resources, all the resources. The heart unit from the Arlington Police is a homeless engagement and resource team to give the resources they need to go engage with them in a humane way and bring them to the social workers, to the Arlington shelters. And this is very important. The second thing people need to know, so I visit the shelter. I don't know if you know, 80% of the people that are in the shelter, they are not there for mental reasons or drug addiction. They are there because they don't earn enough money to pay their rent. And that boils down to the same problem we had before. People don't know financial education, and they have no way to get out of that situation.
Very good. Does anybody else? Tim, I see you grabbing, and then Chris.
Thank you. So, you know, the homeless problem has been something that we've been grappling with for decades, if not centuries. And, you know, in Arlington, it's going to take a multifaceted approach. We have the task force that goes out to stop, you know, any unlawful trespass and those types of things. And they're of the mindset that they're not out there to arrest them, but try to redirect them, you know, so they're kind of coming from the right position. But as mentioned before, some of them don't want help, but some do, and they just fell in hard times. If they're veterans, there's all kinds of programs available, and, you know, the VA offers a lot of money that we can leverage to do that, and a lot of the local agencies know that. We just need to collaborate with all of our support agencies and try to help them out. Thank you.
Chris.
So one of the functions we have as part of our Economic Development Corporation is affordable housing. And so we should, as best as we can, immediately get the homeless into some sort of housing. I believe that comes first, and then we can start delivering services to them, whether it's mental health, food, rehabilitation, and other things. But I don't want to skip over the Ebenezer Church, or sorry, the cemetery. I think we need to acknowledge that Arlington went through apartheid. We call it Jim Crow, but the neglect we see there gives us an opportunity to start to address some of the long-term issues in Arlington, and it will clean a wound that can start healing.
Thank you very much. Damon, I know you got a question from the floor, sir, and I don't know what the question is. We'll do it for 30 seconds and then do a closing. Sir.
Yes, from the floor. Candidates have listed public safety as their top priority. Many of your constituents view our police departments as part of the issue. I'd like each candidate to discuss their police oversight plans.
All right. For a number of us tonight talked about police oversight. Chris, you first person to mention it. Sir, the floor is yours, 30 seconds.
So in 2015, we took a 21st century policing grant, and part of the terms of that was that we would create an oversight board. I believe that the Unity Council has proven itself to the degree that we can add as part of its charge an oversight of policing, where they are fundamentally responsible, as well as a committee, as well as members of the police and the members of the public, particularly those that have been damaged by our police, need to have the ability to really examine not just the individual incidences, but the overall policies of how we police.
Mauricio, I saw you, sir. Mauricio, the floor is yours.
Okay. On the same report, on the unit report, you have there 0.5% of the police engagements, they end up in use of deadly force, or use of force, I'm sorry, and out of 14,000, so you have a very low number of 400 something, 456 to be more exact. So the most important thing to control anything is to have the numbers. If you don't have the numbers, you cannot manage anything. We are in the right track. The Unity Council does a great job. It's already an oversight. So we don't need to create something on top that is already created. We need to empower what is in place. Keep the numbers on track. Go ahead and revise them every year. Try to lower them. And it creates different policies, different procedures to keep lowering them until they are zero.
Would anybody else like to weigh in? This Tim?
Yep. So oversight is important. I mean, you have to have oversight just to keep people honest sometimes. But I think a bigger issue when it comes to law enforcement is training. Sometimes they don't get enough training, especially de-escalation training. You know, a lot of times young officers take stuff personally when they shouldn't. And we need to do a better job of at least funding and budgeting training for these law enforcement officers, and try to leverage some of the newest trends and all to try to teach them to better de-escalate those situations and to realize that people aren't mad at them personally. They're just upset with the situation, and you have to understand how to navigate that and be a better ambassador of the city versus militant style, old school. So.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I saw Bowie first, and then Jacob.
And we'll go quick. To follow up on Mr. Gott, we just had a use of force report from our police chief given, I think this last week. And as Chief Jones said, we're doing better, but there's still more we can do, right? And there is more we can do on that. And I do believe our chief and our department are working to increase that. So what do we have to do? Our officers are trained 40 hours on this, and I do believe, with Mr. Goss mentioned, more training for our officers is essential. We also have to relieve some of their stress. Police officers are under high stress right now. They are stretched thin, to say the least. We've expanded some of our recruiting. It's going to help us. It's helping us get more diverse classes from our police, and I do believe those are the options of where we need to start going, and oversight's always a good thing.
Jacob?
Definitely the best way, or the reason why we have this issue with public safety being part of the problem is that we don't have accountability for our police. So, like Chris said, we definitely need to get some citizen participation, some citizen oversight in the police. And the Unity Council seems to be the best resource for that, so I fully agree that we should give them some police oversight and make our police more accountable.
All right, thank you all. So with that, we're going to go into our closing statements. We started with Chris. Long, we're going to finish with you, and we're going to go down, and we'll give everybody 1 minute. Let me say one thing real quick to remind the crowd. On that end of the table, Chris and Bowie are both running to represent District 7, okay? So they are competitive. And also, in the middle of the table, Jacob, Tim, and Mauricio are running for District 1. So they are competitive as well. Raul is running unopposed in District 2, and Long unopposed in District 6. With that, Long, the floor is yours for 1 minute, sir. Floor is yours.
2 years ago, when during the candidate forum, I promised the people of Arlington, most politicians don't like make promise. I promised that if I get elected, I'm gonna quit my job and serve full-time as city council, and to keep me pretty busy. I quit my job on 20th January of 2023. But you go to my website, I can't say I quit my job. That's not very professional. I put down I'm gonna retire. So to serve the people. Like today, I several email to DPW director, the fire chief, director of public works, and the water director, because people call me, they got an email, and I was the first one to call them, and I do care about them. So if you vote for me, I work for you, and you alone, you my boss. I got about 400,000 bosses. Just remember, you got my personal cell number, you got my city cell number, you can call me, text me anytime. You want to meet me at 3 in the morning, Waffle House, talk about city issue, I'd be glad to meet you. And April 22nd, 30th, early vote, and come out and vote for Long Fam. Thank you.
I want to apologize. I told Jacob when we started this that having that screen up there was going to throw me off because I don't like to see the glare off my head, and I've seen that all the time. I swear that has had an impact on me. Hey, I've been around. I answer all the people's questions. I believe in representing everybody. I'm always there. Being a district city councilman is a full-time job. I go to City Hall every single day. I'm at least there 6 hours a day, answering emails, replying to the people's comments and questions. It's important to be there. I represent you all. It's important that we support our first responders, and we're all big supporters of our first responders. Without them, this city would not be where it's at. Like I said, I've returned every phone call, every email. You see me around. I've been around for 44 years. You'll see me everywhere, and I'm going to continue doing that, and I'm looking forward to continue serving the city for another 3 years. Thank you.
thank you for hosting this event and giving me the opportunity to share my platform and connect with the community. Regardless of the outcome, I'm happy to continue advocating for what I believe in. We need some more investment in transportation infrastructure. We need to address the housing crisis, and we need fulfilling employment for everyone in the city.
Thank you everyone for having us here. So why you voting for Mauricio comes May 4th. I am transparent, so you can go to my website, my company website, you can go my Facebook, I have 10 years of records there. You can go my LinkedIn account and see all my business relations and all the projects I'm involved. So do your homework before you vote and see my track record. My life is open and I am transparent and I am a public figure already. So I am committed. So owning my own business give me flex time to dedicate myself full time. Several people here said this is a full-time job. It requires a lot of dedication. So I don't have a full-time job because I own my own business, I create my own job, and I'll be there serving you full-time. You want to consider this. And I have 20 plus years of running business, selling business, consulting for businesses, and that brings me the experience to create more jobs in the city because I have been creating jobs in the city already in the past years. So when it comes May 4th, vote for Mauricio. May the 4th, be with Mauricio.
Thank you. So in closing, I'm a lifelong public servant. I always find new ways to serve. And when the opportunity came up to run for council, I felt like, hey, to the next level. Started off and from humble beginnings, working in my small churches and all, and then serving my country, then serving the city of Arlington, and I hope to continue serving the city of Arlington on May the 4th and early voting on April 22nd. A vote for, development, new restaurants, new businesses, big employers trying to get something out in North Arlington to kind of support and ground our young folks that are coming into all these brand new apartment complexes that were built. Also looking at how we redevelop the lower income housing because we can't rebuild it without, basically pricing everybody out of the market in those areas. So we need to do a better job of, redeveloping those, making sure that people have a safe, clean place to live. And then, getting on top of some of the crime that's, rampant in those areas from the gangs and others that come in. Thank you.
Thank you to NAACP and for everyone coming out tonight. It's important for us to, during the campaigns, to speak what we believe. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the trust Arlington's given in me. And I do believe I bring a balanced approach to Arlington. I believe I bring an action approach of how to get things actually done in Arlington, how to actually produce and find that. You heard me say it, governing's hard. It is hard. This is probably one of the most difficult jobs any one of us up here could ever have. It is a difficult task. It is a difficult challenge. I am proud to serve this city that I love so much, that I hope my children eventually love so much once they're grown on that. I've been endorsed by the police, the fire, the Dallas Morning News, the Impact, all the former mayors that we have. It's been a proud service that I have. And I think everyone would say, in all my service, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'm always willing to have the discussion. I'm always willing to answer the questions and have those talks with you. With a name like Bowie Hogg, I don't hide very well, and I'm not a small man. So I'm really easy to find, and you can find that Google. People Google it, and it's shocking when people call and they call my cell phone. They're like, I didn't realize this was your cell phone. I said, well, we have 10 minutes. Let's talk about this and what we're trying to do. I appreciate the help, and I appreciate you voting for Bowie Hogg. Thanks.
So, I'd also like to thank you all for coming out and giving me an opportunity to speak. I showed up on the last day to file for city council. I paid $100 because 3 out of our 4 candidates were unopposed. The majority of the city of Arlington would not be having an election this year had I not dropped that $100. Just District 1 would be having an actual election. We have to do better. I see some former candidates out here, and I hope that I see some future candidates out here. I know that I've done this for a long time, but I promise you, you will learn a lot if you're willing to get in the game and come up here and serve. we need to make sure that our conversations are public so that I'm in the role, or whoever's in the seat is in the role of a public servant and not the connected, inside the government, private conversations that we see so many times. And I'd like to push one more conversational topic. We have no elections next year. And so what will take its place will probably be a charter amendment. And we need to get this process started now. So thank you very much for coming out and listening. Chris Dobson, I appreciate it.
Hey, everybody, let's clap it up for all of our candidates here tonight. Really quickly, I want you guys to sit there for 30 more seconds. I want to welcome Pastor Jones to come up here just to save time, sir. Here's the microphone. Y'all, let's clap it up for our president of the local NAACP. He also, I had the honor and privilege of serving with him on the first Unity Council, where he was the chair of the Economic Disparities Subcommittee. So he is always, Pastor Jones has been in the trenches for a long time and continues to be. And sir, the floor is yours. Take us home.
We appreciate everybody for showing up tonight. We realize that it's time consuming, but in the scriptures it says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge," and we need to be in the know. And when we're in the know, we can change the paradigm. We can move the needle, but we have to be in the know. And I want to thank all of you. I want to ask the Alphas, their representative, to come up front. And then also the Deltas, their representatives, to come up front. They've worked hard to put this together, and we really appreciate the effort, the work, and the dedication. I want to give them to us.
Thank you. I am Tanya Redvine, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Arlington Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. And so I, too, want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank the candidates for coming out and talking to us, because that's important. It's important that we here, as the pastor has said, to become knowledgeable, right? An uninformed voter is not a good voter. We need to make sure we are knowledgeable and we have the information that we need. Now, I think it's important for me to say that each of the organizations that are represented here are nonpartisan. We're all nonpartisan. That does not mean, however, that we don't have our own legislative priorities. We serve the community, so we want to make sure that we are letting you know that we're concerned about your platforms, what you say, what you're going to do, because it's our role to protect our community as well. And so we want to, again, just be knowledgeable. Voter education is key. Continue to seek them out. Continue to ask the difficult questions. That's the only way we're going to get what we truly want to get and move the needle.
Well, they have said all the important parts. So, but no, my name is Carlton Washington, and I serve as the immediate past president of the Arlington Alphas here. And just to piggyback off of what my counterparts have stated, you'll see many times we'll be out there for voter advocacy. We want people to register to vote, but the next step is to be an educated voter. And so we're glad that you all have come out to take those steps to learn more about what's going on in the community that will affect you. And my hope is that you take what you've learned today and share it with those in your community, because these local elections matter. All elections matter, but these local elections really touch us and touch our day-to-day lives. And sometimes we don't give it the emphasis that we should. So my hope is that you serve as the example by coming out today and learning more, and then share that with those in your community, so that next time we have one of these, it will be even more packed, as it should be, because of the issues that will affect us and those in the community. But thank you to the candidates for your time. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to all who've come out to become educated around these issues.
And we have voter registration that is outside. So if you have not registered to vote, you can talk to someone outside. And one last thing, everybody that's a member of the NAACP Executive Board, if you would please stand out. Members of the Executive Board, thank you. Damon, is there anything else left to do? Thank you, and you are dismissed.